Great. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks for being with us today. I'm going to walk you through some concepts that will, I hope, help you all better trade the S&P 500. So let me throw my slides up. It's a 45-minute targeted presentation. It'll probably take a little less than that. I want to get you out of here on an August afternoon in reasonable time, but make sure that I give you as much insight as you're looking for. If you have questions, pop them in the chat. I'll try to follow along while presenting. I've given this deck a couple times, but really quickly before we get into it, again, my name is Matt Fox. I'm the CEO of SpotGamma and the co-founder. I was a biotech investor in New York, Washington, D.C., and Zurich, Switzerland at billion-dollar hedge funds. And so I used a lot of options to try to drive value within the biotech space. So from there, I've had a few other steps in my career, ran some biotech companies, and then and now the CEO of SpotGamma. So let's jump into the presentation today. Patrick did a nice job of walking you through risk disclosures. Everything here is educational in nature and not trade advice. So let's just get into it. So without being too pedantic, we all know that to be able to win in today's trading environment, you have to have the best technology. So old school, we look back, Farmer's Almanac in January came out, and every year the farmers just start developing their plant crops for the summer. So now if you want to see weather, you grab your iPhone and just look and see what's there. So without further ado, let's get into what you need to be able to trade the S&P. The first one is you need to wake up every morning and see where are the support and resistance levels. So where are buyers and sellers statistically most likely to enter the stocks and futures that you're trading, especially on the S&P 500. The second thing you need are real-time updates. So how does that change throughout the day? When different levels of exposure increase or decrease, when buying and selling pressure changes, how do you track that throughout the day? And the third question I'll pose to you is where are things going? So as different positions start to shift, as momentum builds, you look forward and try to think, where's the market going to close today as you're trading your futures and you're looking at ways to hedge current positions or initiate new positions. So again, in those three areas, if you woke up in the morning and had a better sense of where are buyers and sellers sitting or lurking through the options market in the S&P 500, you could watch throughout the day the buying and selling pressure change in real time. And you could then thirdly get a sense of how things are starting to shape up from zones of momentum and zones of support and resistance heading into the close that day. I believe it can give you a true edge in your trading. Switching over now to those answer keys. The first one is every day, SpotGamma writes an expert analysis note that shows you the morning levels before the day starts. Then we have a product that helps you look at real-time updates throughout the day. And then lastly, we have a heat map on the S&P that's world-class and shows you exactly where zones of support and resistance and areas of higher or lower volatility are forming, both with GEX bars on the left, which are gamma exposure bars, which just means how are options pushing either way, and then on the right-hand side with a true heat map. And I'll unpack that a bit further as we get into this conversation. So again, if you're starting out trading your day, every day you wake up pre-market and think, where would I buy or sell the S&P? Having better levels can help inform the way that you take your trading approach to the market. Second one is real time. And third one is looking forward over the course of that day, not weeks in advance, that day. So what do we do that's different at SpotGamma? So if you think about traditional investing, there's really been two major categories. And the first one is fundamental analysis. So let's take Tesla. In Tesla, you look at how many cars are bought or sold, or how you think the EV market's shaping up, or what you think might be done on a company basis from innovation that could drive growth. So you're fundamentally looking at that company. In the category of technical analysis, you're looking at what's happened in terms of price and volume action. Will it continue? Might it reverse? But either way, you're using Fibonacci retracement lines, Bollinger Bands, or you're using 30-day moving averages. You're picking and choosing which trading trends are going to drive your investment approach. So fundamental is what's the company doing? Are they a category? Technical is what's been happening with trading profiles. And what we do at SpotGamma is called positional analysis. So we coined that term. We believe that by watching what the options market is doing, you can get an edge when you're trading futures or stocks. That's across the major US indices, and we're focusing on the S&P today, but it extends to all US stocks that are being traded. One reason, again, that this is more true now than ever is the options volumes have exploded over the past 8 years. Here's a chart pretty much of the last 5 or 6 that shows you on the left that options volume growth has been over 150%, while stock volume growth has been 30%. So from the perspective of a derivative, options or futures being a derivative of an underlying stock or index, we now believe that the options market is actually leading, and the stock or futures at times are the derivative. They are following price action that's being driven by the options market. And this is, again, something that's being adopted and understood more and more. We've seen the one-offs in small stocks like GameStop, and we've seen major moves during the COVID or other types of volatile frameworks. And I'm going to show you one or two of those today with exact precise examples. But the first day that the COVID crash really began was the day after options unlocked in early 2020. And the following month, the day when we hit the bottom, was when the options prices and all of the put structures settled in. And that was when SpotGamma really got its footing, because we launched the beginning of 2020 for calling both the top and the bottom of that market. And over the last 5 years, we've added analysts, we've added more expert analysis, we've added webinars, and we've added a tremendous amount of real-time and overnight indicators into our platform. So let's get into those 3 steps to turbocharge your trading using positional analysis. I'll just pause for a quick second. Can you guys do me a favor and just write a 1 in the chat if you're following what I'm saying, or any questions if anything I just covered was confusing? So let's get into the real meat of the conversation. So let's get into those 3 steps to turbocharge your trading using the type of approach that we're working on at SpotGamma. So the first one is the overnight levels. So the founder of SpotGamma, his name is Brent Kachuba. He first worked at Bank of America and then Credit Suisse, helping on their algorithmic desk, developing the math. This was over 20 years ago that was driving the way options were affecting the S&P and the major indices. Then he worked at Wolverine, which is a market maker. It's one of the top 3 in terms of options volumes that trade through Wolverine. And then he worked at a family office. So he brings that lens forward of how do the banks, the Wall Street banks, the largest traders, think about when and how they're trading stocks and options. And then he thinks about how do the market makers adjust in real time, and then what happens at the family office. And through those 3 lenses, he has personally written a founder's note every single morning over the past 5 years, but I think one day when he was super sick. So he writes these every morning, and along with our analysts, we write a team note in the afternoon. So getting into this, what does that do? That gives you specific levels on the S&P pre-market every day. Those include support and resistance. Those include additional, we call combo levels, not just the major levels, the highest point of the day where resistance will kick in or support, but other secondary levels where you might see bounces or might see pivot points to adjust your positions. You can use this uniquely to develop your own trading strategy, or you can use it to complement the way you already do fundamental analysis or technical analysis. So along with our key levels, he writes a commentary that often begins with what's going on in the S&P or the major indices. This week, he's been talking about the Jackson Hole meeting coming up on Sunday and how we'd see low volatility all week. He references some earnings that are coming up. He'll reference whatever he's seeing that day. He might pull out some different trade ideas that he's looking at, from the concept of this name is set up to squeeze because the options volumes are kicking in and no one's really noticing that yet. So there's many ways that the founder's note can deliver you with positioning for the day in the S&P, key levels that you can look at and add into your current trading strategy, or ways to look at new ideas around structuring, hopefully successful trades. Can't be too promissory. So looking at a couple quick examples with the founder's note. On April 3rd, after whatever you want to call it, Freedom Day, Tariff Day, any type of terminology, on April 3rd in the morning, we were warning our investors, we were warning our subscribers and saying, hey, everyone, watch out. The market could really tank. There is no support in the options market. So when we saw the market open with weakness, when Trump didn't back off all of these tariffs, and it was already down a good 5-6%, we said this is not yet a buying opportunity based on what we're seeing in the market. What we're seeing is no support until 5,400. So if you were trading that day, what if you had that information pre-market? You would know that the options aren't really going to kick in until 5,400. And this was on Twitter. This was in our notes. We posted this in real time for validation. And therefore, we were very confident that when the market dropped to 5,400, there was a highly likely statistical analysis that said market will stop the bleeding here. And it did. It closed at 5,400 on April 3rd. That was a Thursday. The next day on April 4th, Friday, I have the day right here of the week, on Friday, April 4th, the next day, the market opened again below where it closed the previous day. Not by too much, but down another couple percent or two, and was starting to move sideways. Some people were calling a bottom. We said, watch out. There is no support until 5,000. Again, if you have that information, you could have shorted into it. You could have bought futures in different ways. You could have adjusted your positions or initiated new ones. So we again warned our audience, there is no support to 50 until we get to 5,000. The market careened downwards, tested 5,000 and closed just above it that day. So what we've done for now 5 years is every month we put this on the internet live, not live, after the quarter is over. We put this on the internet with full fidelity of every call we've made live around where do we see buying and selling pressure and resistance and support. You can go and check this out. It goes back years, but we constantly want to prove our track record to everybody in our ecosystem and everyone that follows us that we're here to help you see what you can't see anywhere else. This is not just based on open interest. Anyone can look at an open interest chart on Google Finance or Yahoo. If you looked at GameStop in 2021, and we wrote a white paper with Columbia University in 2021 analyzing how the options really moved GameStop. Does anybody want to guess in the chat what was the largest outstanding option strike on GameStop when the stock was at $200? So where did people bet the most? Was it the $10 put that it would crash? Was it 500? What do people think? Does anybody want to venture a guess in the chat? And where was the biggest open interest strike in GameStop? There's no wrong answer except for the wrong answer, so don't need to be shy. 400 got thrown out. Appreciate you taking a shot at it. 1,000 got thrown out. 500. I gave this presentation and this portion of it once recently, so I'm not sure if Bhargav was on that, but 1,000 was the biggest open interest strike on GameStop. If anybody was helping give you information from an expert analysis perspective that mattered, that didn't matter at all. Market never got anywhere near that in GameStop. The idea is not around open interest. It's around where is the hedging pressure based on the options market going to drive futures and stocks around where you're really trading on a daily basis. SpotGamma and positional analysis is super valuable for real-time traders, day traders, and people looking out 1 to 2 weeks. We do not add much value beyond 3 to 4 weeks. We are looking at short-term pressure and giving you constant daily updates and real-time information. So that is our founder's note, and that helps you get the first of the 3 key ways to help improve the way that you trade the S&P 500. I'm going to pause there one more time. Please do me a favor, throw some ones in there. Not that I'm doing well or badly, just that you're following along if this makes sense at this pace. Just throw one in if you get it or a question if you have it, please. Great, thank you. Seeing ones and no new questions. Let's go on to real-time updates then. Thank you. So in real-time updates, this is the second thing. So you have your levels in the morning before the market starts, and now we're going to get into the trading day. Let's see what we want to do next. So when you get into the real-time trading day, we have an indicator at SpotGamma we call HERO, which stands for the hedging impact of real-time options. So almost every time an option trades, it goes through a market maker. And they are like a bookie at a casino. They're not trying to bet on either side. They're trying to make money on the transaction or a small spread on the trade. They're not trying to bet that the S&P is going up or going down. So what is happening is every time an option trades and they hedge that risk off with stock or futures, that changes the buying and selling pressure around the S&P 500. And we track that in real time. So again, those algorithms that Brent developed in the early 2000s that we've refined and refined and refined over more than 20 years are now world-class and leading industry. So when we say watch out now with a flow alert, which is when a little alert pops up and says, we are now in an outlier situation where the amount of trading that's happening in the options market's really driving your stocks, we bring that attention to you. And again, this example does show you those individual stocks because we do this across every US stock. But focusing on the S&P 500, you can dial in what's the overall pressure going on right now. And a lot of times the options market moves before the stock or futures markets. So you can get an advantage by seeing where are buyers and sellers starting to buy a lot of puts or buy a lot of calls or inversely selling puts and calls. But that positional analysis in real time can be your edge as you're adjusting your positioning in S&P futures or however you trade the major indices. You can choose to split this out by puts and calls, and you can choose to split this out by just next expiry, which in the S&P 500 is that day. In individual stocks, it's often done that Friday of that week. So let's look at a quick example. On June 27th, this is an example in the S&P, which is the main focus of today's presentation. As you're seeing, the purplish blue line is all trades. If you can see this toggled all trades at the top is to the right. So we're looking at what's happening with all trades. The options market's going sideways throughout the day. You're not seeing a breakout. It's also valuable to know when options aren't driving a move. So options are moving sideways or not seeing much. Markets kind of trades up in the morning a little bit, it's trading somewhat sideways. One of our flow alerts goes off, that blue line starts to drop precipitously, and the white stock line follows. The price of the S&P dropped along with the options market. As you see the purplish blue line start to settle out, you see a bottom start to form and reverse and go back higher. This is showing you how options are driving your names. And one of my favorite ways to utilize Hero is if I already know from section 1 where are those support and resistance levels, and then I start watching Hero and I see it go down, it's like seeing the gas in the car. Suddenly options are driving the S&P further down. But when it starts to settle, as that purplish line starts to go flat and reverse, you know that therefore that's the level at which support's really coming in. And you can feel more confident either doubling down in a long position, initiating a new one, or feeling like you just kind of got to the bottom of a downward move. So when you know that options are the driver and then they stop being the driver, it can give you real confidence playing a momentum reversal. And so then we have case studies that I'm just going to put this link. It's here on the main page, but you could go to our site and see that there's case studies that we post. Each of these is somewhere between 8 and 12 minutes. Obviously, the ES, this is the center one we focused on, might be really interesting, where rather than having me do a quick 3-minute example on that one day, you can walk through a 10 to 12-minute example with one of our lead trainers, who's an expert trader in both the futures and options and stock market. So again, this link right here is available for some free case studies. Also, we actually launched a report called Flow Patrol recently, which can highlight many different moves that are happening in individual stocks. And so maybe even Simon can drop that in the chat, but it's pretty direct that what we're trying to do is get you real-time information on any of these stocks to be able to see both what's happening currently with the overall trade environment, breaking out in puts and calls, so you can see what's going on. Meaning if people are buying a lot of calls versus, for instance, selling puts, that's more bullish because they're investing in an upward move versus just hoping that the market doesn't go lower. So I'm looking right now, someone asked, is it all live data? Yes, it is all live data. And we don't buy little pieces of data and then try to make extrapolations. We spend almost $500,000 a year on data feeds at SpotGamma and pull all that together in different ways to help bring you the most real-time and current data from the exchanges. So step 3, now we're getting to the forecast. Again, do me a quick favor, please throw some ones in there or any questions you have about section 2, which is how do you track things live? So Hero Indicator is our tool we built in 2022 that we continue to refine over the years and improve. But that covers the daily levels, pre and post market, and the expert commentary, and then it covers Hero in real time. So now I'm going to cover the forecasting element. I see a couple ones. So hopefully this is tracking for everybody. Getting into category 3, which is the daily forecast. So again, as Patrick said at the beginning of this call from NinjaTrader, and I've said as well, nothing is predictive in the sense that past performance and future returns and anything of that nature. But in the options market, you can start to see zones of support and resistance building over the day. You can see where zero DTE traders are buying a ton of calls or puts, and that really does influence where the market stops and where it can pin into the close. And those are some really important factors as you set up your trades in the morning and adjust throughout the day. This product is called Trace. We launched Trace last year, and it was our biggest launch as a company relative to the 8 or 9 products we've launched over the last 5 years. Trace is a heat map on the S&P 500. So it continuously updates throughout the day. Every update is within 10 minutes. So Hero is exactly live, and Trace is an intraday update throughout the whole day. On the left-hand side, you see the open interest positions by strike updated throughout the day. So you can see how things are changing. When with the orange bars, buyers of call options are coming in, or the purplish blue bar to the left where put buyers are coming in. If you see puts to the right, that's where there's short puts. So that's positive pressure as well. But the left-hand side shows you exactly what strikes all of those buyers and sellers are coming in. In the main frame, you're looking at this heat map as it changes over the course of the day. You can watch this like a movie and use that bottom toggle bar to scroll back and see what's been happening throughout the day and how to advance that into your own trading strategies. So Trace, let's look at a recent example from May. So on May 21st, we were looking at the overall market. This is a picture on the right-hand side of our Gamma heat map. The Gamma environment was showing you, we tried to make the language simpler in this product to say red, bad, blue, good. And I know the blue is a little purplish tint, but red is bad and blue is good, meaning that in the red, you're going to be seeing in the Gamma lens more volatility. We have 3 lenses: Gamma, delta pressure, and charm. For anything at SpotGamma, there's a little eye circle in green in the upper right corner of this visual. If you click on that, there's an educational tutorial. It'll have a short video. It'll walk you through what the tools mean. It takes a week or 2 to really get comfortable with the language and a month or 2 to feel really expert in it. But there's a tutorial on here. There's that eye box to help you get the education in the video. But again, there's 3 lenses: Gamma, delta pressure, and charm. On Gamma, red means it's more volatile and blue means it's more stable. You see, we open the day and all we're looking at is volatility on the left. It's not a stable environment. And on the bottom left-hand side where that big green box is on the GEX bars, you're seeing people own tons of puts. So what happened in the middle of the day around the bond auction? A fundamental driver slammed the market down. So just like our example that we showed you with the founder's notes on April 3rd and 4th after tariff day, how far is it going to go? How do you know as a trader when you're trading the S&P if we've reached a bottom? Well, if you're looking at Trace, you can see 2 things. You see this giant blue bar on the left-hand side. It's exactly the area that it went to. And in the major heat map, you see the blue beneath it shows there's supportive buying there. As the market progressed then over the next hour and a half, the market bounced off of that level as people started selling those puts. So they had those hedges in place and they start selling the puts, which drives the S&P higher. And you see it now start to move up, and then it traded sideways into the rest of the day. So this is an example where you can get a better sense of where the bottom or top is of a short-term move, and it complements a fundamental driver. So CNBC could say, market's dropping because the bond auction didn't go well and whatever. They're not wrong. But if you say, where's it going next? Where's it going to stop? How far? This is where Trace really kicks in. Another example on June 26th is using our charm lens. Charm has a lot to do with where might the market close. So when you look at the charm lens on the right-hand side, we tend to often close between areas of that red volatility or negative pressure and that blue positive buying pressure. And over the course of the day, if you look at 240, we're an hour and 20 minutes out from the close, you can already see it's going to be hard for the market to break above that red, that dark red right above it. And it's probably not going to drop much below the blue. But looking over on the left, you can see these large call option positions are holding it in place. And we can look at toggling that for just zero DTE closing that day or the overall market. When you're playing the close, the zero DTE has more of an impact. because those are names that have to be hedged. Those are positions that have to be hedged by the close or taken off. So as you can see from the left to the right over the next hour and 20 minutes, the market traded straight sideways right into that pocket and closed. And we see that pinning happen again and again. So if you know what I just showed you and you believe in it, what positional analysis can do by having those levels pre-market every day, by seeing hero in real time showing in the S&P or an individual stock where buyers and sellers are adjusting their positions, and by trace showing you that heat map on the S&P throughout the day changing, and especially into the close, I really believe once you've seen this, you can't unsee it. So that's what I wanted to share with you today from an example perspective on those three categories. And that's what I've gone over about needing to know support and resistance, needing live, and needing to see the overall market pressure change, especially into the close. And so what I just want to kind of leave you with in this concept area is we're giving you tangible ways to get an edge with these tools. So at SpotGamma, we believe that between the founder's notes every morning, Hero, and Trace, you're going to be getting a package that allows you to really adjust your positions pre-market and throughout the day that'll give you an advantage over other traders. So within our community, we do a lot more than just give you the note and give you indicators. We have a Discord room that's vibrant and active. We have webinars, usually 2 a week with Brent, our founder, on Mondays and Thursdays. We have case studies. We have a lot of different, we roll out all the time. We have tutorial sessions. So we do a lot to try to train and give insights and information. So with that, I want to also say that there's many tools at SpotGamma that I haven't covered. Compass, for instance, even though NinjaTrader has a lot of futures traders that really focus on the major indices or the S&P, Compass every day is a super scanner that brings in where is your name sitting today. And you can use this for the S&P, for the SPX, for the SPYs, for the SPX, for NASDAQ, for the NASDAQ futures. Russell, you can pull this in and it's just a grid. On the left-hand side, green is bullish. On the right-hand side, red is bearish. And above the x-axis on Compass, those are names of expensive options, and below the x-axis are cheap. And every day you could wake up with a preset watch list and see where does your name sit or where does the S&P sit. And we have 7 or 8 other products just like Compass. So at SpotGamma today, I focused on those founders notes, which is the pre and post market oversight and education around what's happening to get you ready for your trading day. Hero on the left-hand side with second bullet point, which is the real-time trading, and Trace the heat map. So SpotGamma is normally priced at about $300 a month, but today, because we wanted to get you excited about this and give you extra access at a lower introductory price, if you want to come in earlier, that first month is going to be 50% off. So you can get access to what we do, start to see if it works for you, and better understand how you can get an edge trading the S&P 500. But for me, when I was a biotech investor, I didn't have any of this. I always traded just fundamentally. So this positional analysis, I believe, really can make a difference for the way you approach every trading day, help you adjust intraday, and help you look forward to the close at the end of the day. So with that, I tried to target 30 minutes and leave up to 15 minutes for questions in case anybody has any. But I wanted to kind of go through those 3 categories of examples, give you as much information as I could around real time, what's happened and when it's happened, and then take any questions that come up. So I know it's a Thursday afternoon in August. If you're like me, I'm going to a back to school tonight for my 13 and 10-year-old to see what classes they have and stuff. I know people have a lot on. This is all recorded. You can watch it again later. But I wanted to make sure that I gave you a diligent 30-minute overview and then took any questions. Great. So there's one question about pricing. Is it only NinjaTrader pricing or case of discount for TradingView as well? What we do at SpotGamma, what I'm offering you here is access directly to SpotGamma. It's not related to TradingView or to NinjaTrader, but you can actually see and project our support and resistance lines over NinjaTrader as well as TradingView. Can you watch all support and resistance levels on the 60-minute chart? Any difference? You can look on Hero and see throughout the day all the pressure that's going on. And then on Trace, you can see where it's starting to build throughout the day and into the close. So both tools have a little different utility. Hero is going to show you exactly when a big spike happens either way. And Trace is going to show you in a build fashion across the heat map how things are looking into the close and adjusting and really project out those big levels of support and resistance in those red and blue zones to give you a sense of where buyers and sellers are entering. Any plans to make this automatic? Uh, Again, John, I'm not sure what automatic exactly means. These are all live in real time. If you mean that it can API into your trading platform, we're not there yet as an offering. So it is a standalone system, but you can project these major indices levels onto your NinjaTrader platform. We have an integration at SpotGamma to do that. So it would be an automatic update for that. Whenever a major move happens on Hero, there is often a flow alert that goes off automatically that can alert you both with sound and with a bell if it's something where you're watching other parts of your screen. Can you integrate with TradingView? Yes. Again, this link can help you. We have links that integrate and show you the daily levels on the major indices from SpotGamma into TradingView. It takes about a minute to set up each morning. So yeah, so all major moves do get captured by Hero. So again, we do bring in all the data for both Hero and Trace, and we analyze all that pre-market. So what we do is if, for instance, we know, and we have ways of doing this, both with our backend tagging logic on the data, and by the way our algorithms are built, is if, for instance, you have a tremendously large trade go off, and there's a lot of puts or calls associated with it. We know when it's a bank trade, which is not going to create a lot of hedging pressure because it's already hedged off, and we take that out of our map. So you won't see our product suddenly jerky, upward or downward. They'll assess whether or not we think that that trade was already hedged. So that's another level of sophistication that we put into what we do. So at SpotGamma right now, we're not doing any free trials, but what we are doing is giving you guys half a month off. So it's effectively 50% for the first month, so you can get access to all of these tools. And that's what's listed right now at SpotGamma. If there are no additional questions, I will leave you to your Thursday afternoon. Really appreciate everybody being here today. Please send any questions you have to info@SpotGamma. We do have a bunch of free education on our site as well. And we really want to make sure that we're able to provide you with different levels and different access. ES and NQ levels available, question mark. Yes, every day we have levels on the ES and the NQ in our founders note. So I can actually quickly open up our dashboard here. And if you go into the SpotGamma dashboard, this is your market overview page. This is your home page. This is your command center. You can go into this every day and you can position this however you want. On the right-hand side, you can see their ES levels, SPX levels, SPY levels, NDX levels, all these provided every day pre-market. How about on Trace? If you go to Trace, you can see for today, or any day, you see the levels over that. The call wall is the SpotGamma most significant level of resistance. The put wall is the most significant level of support. So these throughout the day, those levels do stay the same. That's your overnight level. We also have our 1-day move, the high and the low. You can see today the market tested right there, our hedge wall and our 1-day move, and it kind of popped back down. It banged its head off of that, tried it again, it didn't work. Then the option started driving it lower. So from that perspective, you'll be able to see that we don't have any movement that's breaking out of that area. And then the market closed sideways right through that middle of that zone. So yes, the levels are shown on there. How much do you charge for only Discord? So Discord is a component of our overall system. So if you subscribe to any SpotGamma level, they all come with access to Discord. But Discord is not a standalone. So what we were offering today and a 50% off offer to try your first month out was the alpha level at half off. But even if you sign up for standard, standard's going to give you the overnight founder's note every single day, which gives you the levels of setup. Pro gives you overnight equity levels as well, which wasn't the focus of this conversation. And then alpha brings in the real time on Hero and brings in the real time on Trace. So we were positioning this initial offer off of Trace, off of the alpha level, apologies. And all these products are on the left-hand side. We have additional products. This volatility dashboard on the S&P will show you exactly where every option sits, whether it's expensive or cheap versus history. Equity Hub, you can pull in any of the individual stocks you're looking at. So there's many ways to visualize all the different information we talked about every morning and throughout the day. And then in our founders node, you're also able to see this analysis. So this 50% offer, we'll leave this up for a period of time, probably through the end of the weekend. So if you want, someone asked how long will this last? If you go to spotgamma.com/syllabus on our website, we also have a bunch of training videos. So you can get a little more of an insight into how to use our tools and products. And they also have the case studies listed there. So with our syllabus, this walks you through. You could go into Founder's Note and watch videos there. You go into Hero, you could go into Trace. So all that's available on our site. But all the general content outside of education is right in your own dashboard. All right. With that, Patrick, I'll thank you and everybody at NinjaTrader. And if there's no other questions, we'll break for now and hope to see some of you within the SpotGamma ecosystem in the future.